Welcome back to All Things Lord of the Rings with your host Alex, also known as Solomon Dracone, featuring a new shorter intro because I do listen. When last we left off, Turin had departed from Menegroth, in a terrible misunderstanding resulting from him being responsible for the death of an elf named Saros. Thingol tapped Beleg Strongbow, Turin's BFF, to go and find the boy, to let him know he'd been pardoned. Turin fell in with a band of outlaws and became their captain, and that's where we are. So, while searching, about a year after setting out, Beleg actually came upon the camp of the outlaws. Turin was out at the time, and the brigands nabbed Beleg and did the usual cruelty and harsh treatment thing, because they thought he was a spy from Doriath, which isn't entirely incorrect, as he was from Doriath and he was trying to spy out where Turin had gone. Turin came back, though, and seeing how badly his band was behaving, decided this life wasn't for him. He turned Beleg loose, and swore from then on never to engage again in any warlike or plunderous acts, except against the servants of Angband. Beleg was obviously happy about this, and told Turin about Thingol's official pardon, and begged him to come join the fight again, because the orcs were starting to get uncomfortably close, and had found a path out of Tar Nufuin through the Pass of Anak. Turin, for pride reasons, basically said, don't care about the pardon, don't want to go back to Doriath, don't want anything more to do with this business. Which is confusing, considering what he just swore, but roll with it. He tried to convince Beleg to stay with him, but Beleg could do stubborn just as well as Turin, and declined the offer. Look for me in Dimbar if you want to fight alongside me again, Beleg said, and the next day he set out. Turin followed after him a bit, but didn't go very far, stopping just at the edge of bowshot from the camp. Beleg turned to Hurin and said, Is it farewell then, son of Hurin? Turin took a moment, looked to the west, and said, You said to seek you in Dimbar, but I'm going to Amon Rud. You seek me there, or this is indeed our last goodbye. And so they parted ways, still bros, but both sad. Beleg went back to Menegroth and told Thingol and Melian about what he had found out, but left out the part about Turin's band roughing him up. Thingol had a sad, and was like, What does he want from me? Beleg asked to be given leave to tail Turin and guard him, because he cared about Turin and didn't want to see the boy end up in shit. Thingol agreed to this, thankfully, and granted Beleg anything he wanted. Beleg wanted a badass sword. Thingol was fine with that, as long as it wasn't his own sword, Aranruth. So Beleg chose Anglachel, a powerful blade that had been forged from a meteorite, and had all the power and magic you would expect such a thing to have in a fantasy setting. Anglachel, fun fact, was forged by Eol the Dark Elf. You remember him, Meglin's daddy? It was a payment he gave to Thingol for leave to stay in Nan Elmoth. Anglachel had a twin, Anguirel, but that doesn't enter into Turin's story. As Thingol was handing Beleg the sword, Melian chirped up and was all, that sword's kinda evil. I wouldn't trust it if I were you. And Beleg was still gonna use it. And Melian was all, okay, fine, but let me give you a gift too. Here's some lembas. Eat it and give it to anyone you see fit. Now, a quick word about lembas, or rather its significance. Lembas wasn't just regular-ass trail ration. You may get the impression that's all it was, from how Galadriel gave it freely to Frodo and his party, but no, it was much more symbolic than that. Only a queen of the elven houses could give out lembas, and it was not given lightly. She fully knew that Beleg would give some to Turin, and that shows just how highly Melian regarded Turin. This was literally the first time in all of history that lembas ever was given out with the notion that it would be used by humans, and it rarely happened again afterward. So, with those gifts, Beleg left Menegroth and headed back north. He went to Dimbar, jacked up some orcs, etc., but when winter came, Beleg vanished. Meanwhile, back when Beleg parted from him, Turin decided he was done with the outlaw thing, but it wasn't in his heart to just abandon his friends, because they were under some hardship. Even the bandits themselves were tired of the life, and they just wanted to find a safe place to live out their days. They came upon 3 dwarves, and of course roughed them up, because players gonna play. The dwarves turned and ran, but the band did catch one, as well as shooting an arrow after the others. The one they caught was named Mim. Mim pleaded for his life, and said he'd show them where his treasures were if they'd let him live. Now, Turin wasn't someone to kill a prisoner begging for his life anyhow, but he wasn't about to turn down some treasure. He asked the dwarf where he lived, and would you believe it was Amon Rud? Coincidence? I think not. So Mim led them to Amon Rud and into his house, which he renamed Bar en Danwed, the House of Ransom, on the spot, because everybody liked to name and rename everything back then. There they found the other two dwarves who had ran. It turns out that the arrow they had shot had hit one, Kim, who happened to be Mim's son, and had just died. Oh dear. Turin felt super bad about this, and said to Mim, "I think we deserve you renaming this house like that. Listen, I know it's not worth much, but I promise you that if I ever come across any money, I'll give it to you in apology for your son, even though I know it won't really ever erase what we did." Now, as much as that sounds pathetic to us, you gotta remember, dwarves always did love gold, enough so that this counted as a very eloquent apology from him, and for the most part he forgave Turin, even though he was still sad. And so Turin and his merry band came to live upon Amon Rud in the House of Ransom. And that's where we're going to cut it for this week. I want to remind everyone who made it this far to please leave a thumbs up or make a comment, and for the love of God, subscribe if you haven't already, so I can hit 1,000 subs and get my monetization back. I want to thank everybody for watching. Once again, I am Alex, also known as Solanus Dracone, and this has been All Things Lord of the Rings. Goodbye.